Okay, 7th graders, in lesson 1-3, we're going to talk about evaluating expressions. We've been talking about expressions, some of them numerical expressions, where you have a whole bunch of operations. We just did problems like that, using the order of operations to simplify those. And now today, we're going to be given expressions that have variables in them. So now these are called algebraic expressions, right? If they contain a variable. And so with an algebraic expression, how would you find the answer? How would you find the answer if it's an algebraic expression? Read it.
If they tell you what n equals.
Yeah, if they tell you what n equals, then you can evaluate it to find an answer. So look at this expression. It's simply n divided by 12. Well, if they tell you what n equals, then you can put that number in for n to find the answer. And then you do it again with the second value for n. And the third value for n. So you put the number in place of the variable, and then find the answer. Okay? Look at this one. 4 times y minus 15. Well, you can find the answer if you know, or if you're given a number for y. For the letter y. What number are you given, Matt?
For the letter y. 60.
No, are you watching here? Because I just pointed at it. 9. Okay, look up here. Because if you're looking and listening, then you'll know what to do, okay? So you put 9 in the place of y. And so if you have 4 times y, how do you make that, when you insert it, how do you make it say times? Why doesn't it just say 49? Jeff?
Put it in parentheses.
You put it in parentheses, right. When you insert the number in, you put it in parentheses. And then 4 times 9 in parentheses actually means 4 times 9. Okay?
Could it be 4.9 or 4 x 9?
It's much better for all kinds of problems if you put it in parentheses. Could you get the right answer if you use the dot? Yeah. But sometimes there's going to be an exponent there, so you have to use parentheses. There might be a negative sign in there that you need to have parentheses. And so it's better if you put it in parentheses and get into that habit. Okay? Any questions on this one, on this example? All right, so let's look at a couple from your book. In example 3, or no, I'm sorry, in example 2, there are multiple variables. 3ab plus c over 2. So just find this example in your book, page 14. And in this one, they give us a value for each of these variables. Page 14, example 2. What's the value for a? What's the value for a? Olivia? 2. So to substitute in 2 for a, you write 3 times 2. What's the value for b? 5. So we put in times 5 plus 10. The value for c is 10 over 2. And then evaluate this to find the answer. So you have to use the order of operations again. 3 times 2 times 5. Could we do 2 times 5 first and then take it times 3? Yes, because of the commutative property of multiplication commutative property says we can, as long as they're all multiplication, we can do them in any order. So we can do 2 times 5 is 10, and then times 3 plus 10 divided by 2 is 5, and then do 30 plus 5 is 35. Okay? We did multiplication in the same step here, so we can do that all at once. And then finish the multiplication and then add. Right? Now, oftentimes, they will give you multiple values for a, like sometimes they'll say, evaluate it for A equals 10, 15, and 20. So in that case, you have to do 3 different problems. Okay? Sometimes they'll give you a real world problem, and you'll have to figure out and write the expression first. Look at example 3. It says energy drinks come in cases of 24 bottles. Write a variable expression for the number of cases a store should order to get B bottles of energy drinks. So to get whatever number of bottles they want, what expression would that equal? Well, when you're doing this process, the first thing you have to do is define a variable. We have to write what the variable means in the problem. So they say B bottles, and that B is in italics. So the first thing you need to write for this is B equals bottles. Okay? And that's defining what B is in our expression. Then, it says how many cases would the store order to get however many bottles they want. Well, energy drinks come in cases of 24 bottles. Write an expression for the number of cases. So 1 case equals 24 bottles, right? And so, if they take the number of bottles and divide it by 24, that equals what? The number of what? What's missing here? How many bottles are in one case? So if we have 500 bottles, how many cases is that? You divide it by 24, right? And that would equal the number of... No, we already have cases, right? Okay. Now it says, what if they have 120 bottles? How many cases is that? So what would we do with this expression? This is our expression, B bottles. So B divided by 24. How would we put that in then? How would we find out how many cases? Bennett?
B equals 120.
Right. So do 120 divided by 24, and that equals the number of cases. 5 cases. Yep. So, defining a variable, this is what I want you to remember from this example. Defining a variable means writing what the letter stands for. Okay? Then, what you'll have to do is evaluate an expression. So put in a number that's given in the problem to find an answer. That's called evaluating an expression. Okay, here's what I want you to do for tomorrow. On page 16, I want you to do 2 to 26 evens. 2 to 26 evens. Okay?